Westbrook Health Services has been supporting the surrounding community since 1949 and is known as an agency that is community-focused, people-driven. As one of West Virginia's 13 comprehensive behavioral health centers, Westbrook provides services to 8 counties throughout the Mountaineer State and became one of the first comprehensive community behavioral health clinics in West Virginia in 2020. This podcast wouldn't be possible without the generous help of the Sisters Health Foundation. This year marks 25 years since the foundation awarded its first grant, and we couldn't be more grateful for their support. Welcome to Studio 2121.
Hi, welcome back to Studio 2121 for the third installment of Spill the Tea with Liz and me. I'm Liz.
And I'm me, and here we are.
Yes.
So
That's actually Jolie.
Yes.
For anyone that doesn't know, that's Jolie.
Otherwise known as me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we've been getting a lot of feedback.
I'm loving it.
Yes.
I'm loving the feedback. I've been approached. People want and appreciate us talking about mental health.
Right.
It's the darkness in the closet that nobody talks about.
Which is so interesting, right? Because we talk about it almost every day.
Every day.
It's what we do. But the interesting thing about that, because you've told me a number of people have approached you and said, thank you so much for talking about mental health. And of course we know there's stigma, people don't talk about it. But I was reading an article yesterday about a study that the VA did, and there's some bad news first, which is they reviewed...
Take us down.
Okay. Individuals, like 150,000 individuals who had a diagnosis of COVID and survived at least 30 days were 60% more likely to have a mental health diagnosis or to be prescribed mental health related medication as a result.
Can I ask you, and I don't know if the article said this or not, 150,000 people, does that mean severe COVID?
It didn't discuss what level of COVID, but just that they survived at least 30 days.
Yeah.
But the good news is that this article indicated because of that, people are talking about it more because it can be a symptom of long COVID, people having more depression, more anxiety.
Did you think that we would have that kind of vocab?
Long COVID? No.
3 years ago?
We didn't.
We didn't.
No, we had no idea, right? Yeah. That's still bizarre, but it makes sense, right, when you think about it, that more people would be depressed and anxious. But
it's affecting mental health and COVID have affected so many more families.
Right. And is it that, or is it just that now people are more willing to talk about it? And I do think it's kind of a combination of both. So I also appreciate that we're willing to talk about it. We're spilling the tea, which, by the way, did I tell you?
Tell me again.
I know the origin of spill the tea. Remember when we first met, I didn't know. I was right. I did get it from my kid, but...
Proud old people here.
Yes,
We know where it came from.
We looked it up on a little thing called Google. And, well, they don't know the exact origin, but one of the first references in pop culture... Did you watch the movie Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil? It was also a book first, but the movie?
Don't do books.
Yeah. So there was a character called Lady Chablis, who was an individual that was transgender. And she was talking to the main character about something. And she said, well, that's my tea, my truth. Her truth was that she was transgender. And that's the first reference in pop culture is tea as in truth.
Okay. I now feel like we need to rename our program
to
Spill the B for banter.
Banter. We could do that. It's a little bit of both.
It's a little bit.
I hope it's also true.
It's a B&T.
It's a B&T, not a BLT.
No.
Well, we could maybe...
I wouldn't mind that.
Well, let's decide if we can figure out what an L would be. But it's more fitting even because...
Lies.
No, let's not do lies.
Okay.
No. We're not about that. But because I do hope that we are spilling truth about mental health, about what's out there to help people.
Love.
I like that. Okay. So anyway, I was happy to see that article. More people talking about it.
And more people reaching out.
Yeah.
So I want to share a story with you that I was so touched by somebody. People in this world, me included, feel like we're going through life. Are we making a difference? Are we having those touch points? Are we alone? And I've talked about my son and his swimming, and I was yelling at the state swim meet for him because it was like a Taylor Swift concert. I need to yell and give him that energy, and he did great. And it was mainly because of me. But
I'm sure it was the energy, but I have to, does he get embarrassed? Does he say, Mom, stop it?
he can't hear me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's for you.
Right.
Totally
exactly.
for you.
It's me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't normally yell, but I wanted to that day. Anyway, there's a Swim West Virginia that was set up behind me. And they do the podcast to telecast all of that. And so after the fact, I did a little message on Facebook that said, I'm really sorry if I broke your sound equipment. And he, of course, replied, no, it's sturdier than that, whatever. But someone posted underneath me and said, Liz, I sent you a private message. I hope it finds you. Okay, and I had I looked at the name, and the name didn't quite I know, and I thought, is this an interview?
A stalker?
What is it? I go over to my messenger, and the first line had me. Liz, I don't know if you remember me, but I went to Girls State with you 32 years ago.
Oh, my goodness.
32 years ago. And my maiden name is Oliphant, so it's a little more distinct.
Hi, Daddy Elephant.
Yeah, I was.
And Mama, I don't want to leave you.
I was blown away by the fact that she remembered me. And okay, so the message went on to say, son did great, and I hope to see you, and whatever. So we started back and forth over a period of a day or two, and she then said to me, if people aren't familiar, Girl State is high school kids go to essentially a camp, and they set up mock government, and you run for office.
I did not know this thing.
You run for office, and I ran for Senate, and so you have to take your poster boards and your markers, and you have to campaign and county.
Did you win?
I did.
Oh,
I did.
Of course.
But when I won, I called my mom on the payphone. It's a landline that you could call people.
Some of our listeners will not know what that means.
Thomas Edison helped with it.
Yes. Anyway. And the payphone means you actually put money in to use the phone and call. Are there any around anywhere? I don't know that there are.
There are.
You've seen one.
I found one at Fairmont State.
Maybe we'll throw up a picture for those of people that don't know what that means.
So she replied back to me, do you still sing, does your mom still sing, I'm proud of you, to you? So that reference was when I won Senate, everyone from my cabin went down to the payphone because I talked about this, and my mom sang, I'm proud of you.
I've never heard that song.
It's just I'm proud of you, I'm proud of you, I hope that you are proud of you, I'm proud of you, I'm proud of you, I hope that you are proud of you.
Please don't make me cry.
I won't. Anyway, that's it. So
your mama sang that to
She
you.
would sing that anytime we did, anything good. So she sang that. So she says, does your mom still sing, I'm proud of you?
Oh.
I don't know if I can say the statement. She said, I sing that to my kids now. I was blown away. I thought that one moment.
You were a little teenage kid.
32 years ago, you wonder if you make a difference in life.
And you just never know.
You never know. So I encourage people, you do make a difference even if you don't know it.
Even if you don't know it. You never know what's going to impact someone, which is so incredible about the work that we do. We've gotten the opportunity to interview Jessie Hyde, and she was incredible when she talked about her story. And I have to wonder.
Her vocab is amazing.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
She could have probably thrown in 36 words that we had to look up.
She only threw in a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was good because my espresso takes a while to register, you know, in the brain, and it wasn't.
So we like to keep the vocab this early in the morning for cat, dog. Cat and dog.
We could go as high as ferret. Yeah, I could probably do ferret, maybe guinea pig. Yeah. So anyway, it's important that, and I appreciate so much that people have approached you and said, thank you for talking about this, because did you watch the episode where Kevin interviewed Kendra?
Not yet.
You haven't had a chance to watch it yet. So he asked her to talk about depression, and she did, and she shared her own story that she struggled with depression, which, you and I have discussed that. We've both been there.
As if it was in the past.
Right. Well,
I'm parked at that hotel, and I'm doing a long stay.
Right. So we find coping skills. Well, she talked about gratitude and choosing gratitude. Have you ever done that? Like, I've done that before. Gratitude journal.
My issue is I'm never consistent with anything.
Right.
I've done it I love it. I'll do it for a couple days, and then I'm not. I admire anybody that can keep up the discipline.
Right. I'm there too. We've discussed that. You know that I am. But I think that I have found, if I can just jot down a list, 5 things that I'm grateful for. Because, you know, you have to put some action to it, I think. And you can tell yourself, think about something you're grateful for. But if you have a plan to write down, here are 5 things I'm grateful for today, or 10, or it does change how you view things. Mm-hmm. So interestingly enough, I saw another article. You know, I like to look at the headlines.
You like to read.
If the headlines catch my attention,
I Candy Crush.
Then I'll read them. And it was another study. I actually made a little note for myself. So if I threw up some statistics, they'd be the right ones. But, and we know this, if you're suffering from depression, exercise can help you feel better. We know that. The problem is, we've experienced this.
I just don't feel like it today.
If you don't,
tomorrow, I will do it tomorrow.
If you're depressed, the idea of getting out of bed and going to exercise is not always insurmountable.
I will say,
yes,
2 times this week I've gone out for 3 miles. 3 miles plus.
Here's the good news. The study,
I'm waiting.
This is legit because it was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, the psychiatry version.
Okay.
I feel like that's legit.
Yeah.
It's not just like some random thing on Google. It really is only an hour and a quarter a week. That will make a difference. You would be 18% more likely to not suffer from depression.
Yes.
An hour and a quarter.
That's it.
That feels reasonable.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to go up to 2.5 hours, then you would be 25% less likely. So if you're out there and you are struggling with depression, which a lot of us do, a lot of us aren't willing to talk about it.
An hour and a quarter. That's not even a half hour a day. I mean, I really feel like
I know it probably still feels insurmountable to some
Mm-hmm.
people, but it's like you tell me sometimes, just put your shoes on and drive to the parking lot of the Y. If you choose not to get out,
it's harder to.
but at least
It's harder to say no to the parking lot.
Right. So an hour and a quarter. So if you're thinking, yeah, I know I need to exercise, it might make me feel better, but I'm not sure I can do it. If you can commit to, and it doesn't all have to be in one day, over a week. That seems more doable, does it to you?
I really appreciate that Westbrook is doing, whether it be weight loss or walking challenge, there's a movement component to it. And I have an outside window. I watch people walk.
I see a lot of people walking at the 7th Street office in the parking lot.
Yeah. It inspires me a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. Tim Barnett with very long legs.
I've seen him walking.
And he's got many steps.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he is trying to do long distance. I think he's got a goal, and I forget what it is.
Something about that, maybe related to the Appalachian Trail and a buddy, or maybe we'll have to ask him about that.
I have a fascination with the Appalachian Trail.
I do too.
I would love to, not the whole thing.
But just parts of it?
But parts of it.
But does it make you nervous?
I
feel a little scared about it.
I want to pick it up in West Virginia and go through West Virginia. No, sorry, right on the border of Virginia, walk through West Virginia and Maryland, and then hit Pennsylvania to say I did 4 states of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that'll sound really important. I really
I think it's like 44 miles.
I think I asked you last time what brings you joy, and we talked about joy a lot, and I've been thinking about joy a lot. The weather was beautiful yesterday. Did you notice that?
I did. I
maybe it didn't start out that way.
Music and walking
outside, sunshine.
I felt the warmth on my skin, and it felt really good.
So of course, something that brings me joy.
By
Summer dog. Please let me talk about.
Well, I just want to tell you, by the 15th episode, we are going to be so happy
because we're talking about joy all the time, and it's a choice, right? To talk about joy.
Can I get my money back if we're not joyful?
I'll give you your money back, gladly. How much have you invested?
Diet Pepsi.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll hook you up.
Okay. Tell me about Summer Dog.
Summer Dog.
Oh, you love your Summer Dog.
She brings me joy. And
so where'd you go?
The river.
Okay.
Which, the nature. I feel like nature is important.
Moving water, flowing water.
Things are green. There's some green things. There is a purple, bush in front of my house. I don't recall it being purple last year.
Okay.
Purple is one of my favorite colors. Also in front of Stoked. I go by Stoked every day.
You love your
for espresso. Have to have it. Purple flowers. Joy.
I want to tell you, I saw a thing Panera has a lemonade
Yes.
that apparently has more high octane than.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to try it.
I will have to try it.
It may be full sugar. I don't know.
Also, I have chocolate covered espresso beans, which are dangerous for everyone around me, not just me.
At a certain point, she just starts to sound like this.
It's okay though, right?
The words are just flowing.
Yeah. Do you want to know one of the main reasons why I love Westbrook?
Tell me.
Because people tolerate me and all my espresso and how fast it makes me speak. And I think it's because periodically I throw out a good idea.
Yeah.
And so that's enough to keep me around. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought there was a glass here with a frog on it.
Well, there was a glass with a frog. Michigan J Frog, which is an important character in our lives. But I wanted to honor you today by drinking out of a Diet Pepsi glass.
Diet Pepsi.
Mm-hmm. So I have been reading other stories in the news about mental health because I think it's important. And there are a couple things that I found. You know, I have to be really careful to focus on good parts of bad stories. So there's some good news and bad news with all.
On our first episode, I asked you a question about you, and
Yes.
you said, "Hey, I'm the interviewer here."
Correct.
But now we're on the same playing field. Can you tell people what makes you qualified to talk about all this? I'm a nurse. I could be a nurse anywhere, but
Right.
you're a bit more specified.
Well, and actually, probably people don't know because I'm so far removed from that. But I started out my life as a therapist.
Did you love it?
Actually, that was a Freudian slip because I said I started out my life and I meant my profession, but honestly, I started out my life. That is a true statement.
Okay.
I was raised to be a therapist.
That's nice.
Yeah, I was. That's what happens when you are raised by people who suffer from mental illness. Is a lot of people develop coping skills that then work out well to choose
That puts food on the table.
to choose a profession to utilize those coping skills. And right, that's how I got here.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a therapist for a long time. I feel very far removed from those days. I work mostly with adolescents because I love adolescents. Now, I'm going to qualify that by saying when my children were adolescents.
Not as much.
Well, I had one that was delightful and one that was difficult.
Okay.
You know, and I won't name names. They know who they are. And it was challenging. It's different when it's in your own house.
But you knew how to handle it. You had all the
But
knowledge.
you don't. You don't, right?
Out the window.
Yes. And in fact, my therapist, because I am seeing a therapist, I'm just gonna be honest about it because people need to speak openly about it. Said to me even the other day, you know, it doesn't matter that you studied it. It's different when it's your own life. And that is so true.
Ask me why I don't have a therapist.
Why do you not have a therapist?
Because that requires me to take that self-care time.
I know.
I need my dental appointment and I need a therapist.
Isn't it difficult?
And any day now I will get it.
But I did actually go to the dentist recently. I had 2 cavities. It's
COVID
interesting.
shut that down because it was the mouth.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, right? And they say this, that like doctors make the worst patients, nurses make the worst patients. I know all of the things to do to manage stress, to focus on self-care, to take care of yourself. I can tell you, I can do a training, but I always preface those trainings with, it's a struggle. I know it's a struggle. I know all of the things to do, and I don't do them. Yeah. I find myself even, in my sessions, just being okay. That's how moms, women, right? That's how they cope. They're okay.
We've talked about that a little bit, that I have started to say, I can't talk about that right now. And
Right.
I've never been that person to say I can't talk. Normally I'm an open book and I just talk. It's not that I don't want to share it. It's just if I share it right now, I'm probably
gonna cry,
and I'll become refocused.
And we will not cry in this podcast. Well, we might, but we don't intend to. We want to make people laugh.
Yeah.
People know all the sad things that are going on out there, but I do appreciate that we're talking about this because it is hard to talk about mental health, and people are struggling, and maybe they don't realize that you don't have to struggle, that there is help, that there are things that you can do. And it's important, I think, for us to normalize. I think not just for women, for everyone, but I think that is very much a mom thing. I need to be okay to go take care of.
When we were talking to Jessie Hyde.
Yes.
And
hi, Jessie.
And
do you think she will know by now if she won the 5K? And I would like to believe that she won the 5K. Yeah,
she did.
For sure. Right.
But she said something, and I reiterated it, that saying the words out loud.
Yes.
And I think with us talking about it and people have approached me, they're able to say, I have a family member who is mentally ill, and it's not something that you bring up. Like when people
it's so hard.
When someone sees you, how are you doing? What's your reply? Good.
I'm good.
Good.
I'm fine. Thank you for asking.
In the wise words of Amanda
Delightful.
Moore, I've never had a bad day in my life. That's what she said.
Seriously?
Her dad taught her that.
Oh.
Never had a bad day in my life. I've tried that. People don't question it. They just move on.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. But I think recognizing, I can't talk about that. I feel like I'm trying to normalize that for me, that I just can't talk about that right now.
Which I know is hard for you because we talked about that before. You're the bringer of joy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure on you to be the bringer of joy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There were other studies that I happened to read. It's interesting. You know my boss, Kevin Trippett?
I am familiar with him.
He was at a conference.
Okay.
And he messaged some individuals, me included, to share something that he learned, which is that the drugs that are out there are more serious than they used to be. So there are individuals who are taking fentanyl, which we know is a very powerful, potent drug that's responsible for a lot of overdoses. And they're pressing it into the shape of pills, so it looks like legitimate pills. He indicated that someone told him, the physician that was speaking, told him that sometimes they look more legitimate than real pills from the manufacturer. And because of that, more people are overdosing. So I found something interesting, 2 articles. One was about adolescents. Did you know that adolescent drug use is actually at an all-time low? Does that surprise you? I paused.
That does surprise me, just because...
It doesn't seem like it.
I don't know, it's 2022. But because the numbers are higher with overdose, so that's because...
They're
more potent.
And they don't realize that. So, you know, I don't know how you feel about sort of harm reduction. Some people would be like, oh, if you tell your kids about drugs, they're going to start using drugs. But this article was talking about the importance of educating your children so that they're making smart choices. And it may not be realistic to think that your children are not going to go out and try drugs. So you want to arm them with good information. And the good information is you've got to be careful because 77% of adolescent overdoses involve fentanyl.
And I believe that.
Yes.
Yeah. We armed our kids with, if we catch you doing them, we will harm you.
Correct.
I might have said kill, because Scott and I both work in this field and we see not the end result, but we see the process, and it's horrifying, and it is so sad. It is so sad that the kids are very well aware of not to use drugs.
Right. So there are mixed feelings about what exactly to say. It's the same thing with, do you give your children condoms, which we won't get into because there are mixed reviews on that. But there is research that shows that actually arming your children with information about how to be safe does not increase the likelihood that they will do things that are harmful.
I think also, once again, having that conversation, saying the words out loud, I am scared for you to go out into this world. And here's why. And Scott and I are able to, kind of share some experiences or whatever, but ultimately you need to have conversations.
Yeah, you have to.
To whatever level you're comfortable with.
But I want to go back to the fact that adolescent drug use is at an all-time low, and also...
I find that really...
Right. But also an additional article that I read that talked about that drug use is down they looked at it was a study that looked at the drug use in June, July of 2020 versus the same time period in 2021, and drug use is down. Again, overdoses are high because of fentanyl, the higher likelihood that you're going to get fentanyl.
Was there any speculation why it's lower?
I don't recall that coming up in the particular article that I read, but you want to know something that is interesting, and I think you're going to find this interesting. There were 5 states that 1/3 of the overdose deaths occurred in. Do you want to take a wild guess at what those 5 states are?
No. I would go West Virginia, Florida, Louisiana. I don't know.
Okay, so it was California.
Okay.
Florida was one of them. Ohio.
Okay.
West Virginia was not on the list.
Wow.
The other 2 were Texas, 1, 2, 3, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But not West Virginia. And I just knew West Virginia was going to be on that list, but then I started thinking about it. And you know Dr. Eric Limegrover?
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Eric Limegrover. He always says you can't prove what you prevented, but there have been a lot of prevention efforts, right?
Yeah.
Over the last number of years in West Virginia. And I have to believe that perhaps they're working.
Yeah.
Because for how many years was West Virginia at the top of the list of drug use, overdose deaths? We are not on the list of top 5.
When COVID first began, we got a very scary email. Do you remember that? How to prepare if you are addicted.
Oh, gosh.
And it was...
I forgot about that.
I read that with both eyes.
Right.
And if you are addicted and you go cold turkey, it can get real bad.
Yes.
So they were saying, we want to prevent death, and so you want to ration your supplies. You want to, and it was going through it was a scary email.
Where did we get that? That was from Yale, possibly.
Yeah,
he said it was originally from Yale.
And that was the strangest email I had ever received. But I also wonder about supply.
Right. I think that was if I recall, that was the concern at the time was
toilet paper.
Right.
And drugs. Gosh, I never imagined. Never imagined.
I don't know if you're aware of how much Narcan we have access to at Westbrook, but I think it's important for people to know if you need Narcan, if you struggle with drug use, if you have a loved one that struggles with drug use.
If you live in a neighborhood.
Well, really, if you live in the world at this point.
If you live in the world and
you could potentially save someone's life.
If you go to the grocery store, you could see it.
If you want Narcan, you can call our crisis line. We'll give you Narcan. We'll train you on how to use it.
And it's pretty simple. It's just like an Afrin. You just squeeze it and step back.
Yeah. So I think that's important. I appreciate that we have so much Narcan to give out. It is saving lives. It is. Right.
Yeah.
Those are the only articles I've read. I don't have any other information for you, I think. Let me look. No, I have no other information for you.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it.
Oh, I do have one more piece of information for you. And this is really upsetting to me.
So you lied. Go.
Yeah, I did lie.
Oh, we found the L. Lies.
Ooh.
Go ahead.
Ouch.
What'd you
that
find?
hurt. There was another study, actually, about, and it was in the San Francisco Journal of Adolescent Health. Let me try that one more time.
Okay.
San Francisco Journal of Adolescent Health. So, as we mentioned, the need for mental health services, the symptomology of depression and anxiety, particularly in adolescents, increased during the time of COVID. Makes sense, right?
Right.
Only 1/3 of individuals who were showing symptoms of depression or anxiety or any kind of mental health issue, adolescents, were able to access services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming and sharing all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks for leaving us on a down note.
Okay, so what brings you joy today?
My girl's coming home, and we're going to have a family weekend. We're
What are
going to
you
go
gonna do?
hiking.
You're going to go hiking. The weather's supposed to be good.
We're going to go to Old Man's Cave.
Oh, that
Ohio.
is fun. Okay, in case you want to play a board game, I would highly recommend a board game called Codenames.
Oh, okay.
It's fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thanks for spilling the BLT.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And we hope to see you back.
Bye.
Bye.